Conversations with the Citizen. I'm your host, Tia Carol Jones. I'm here today with Christopher Jewett, Director of Corporate Development for Bally's Casino. Uh, Bally's Casino is one of three companies with proposals for a Chicago casino license. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about Bally's Corporation.
Yeah, so Bally's is, I would say, one of the fastest growing gaming companies in the world. Definitely in the U.S. for sure. As of a few years ago, we only had a handful of gaming assets or casino properties, just brick and mortar. Now we have 16 properties. We have a full online gamut of iGaming, sports betting, bingo, free-to-play games, etc. So we're an omni-channel gaming company now with a strong growth trajectory in the future.
Why did Bally's want to answer the request for proposals for a Chicago casino license?
I mean, I think there's quite a few reasons. First off, Chicago is one of the greatest cities in the U.S., right? Definitely has one of the largest populations, and casinos have been talked about here for decades. We view this as a greenfield opportunity, a chance to kind of make this our flagship and plant our flag and really build something from scratch. A lot of the growth prospects in gaming nowadays are really buying existing assets and then trying to transform them. Here we can build what we want from scratch. With that being said, we may be new to Chicago, but we do operate in Illinois. We own Bally's in Quad Cities, right on the Iowa-Illinois border, about 180 miles away.
Bally's has two proposals for the Chicago casino license. Would you talk about the two proposals on the table, the cost, the amenities, and the scope?
Sure. So the two locations, we've kind of bifurcated this, but similar programs at each. The first is the Chicago Tribune Center, where they currently print pretty much all the newspapers in the city. And the second is near McCormick Place at the truck marshaling yard. It's surface parking for semi-trucks and then some employees and visitors from McCormick Place. We're committing to spend at a minimum $1.6 billion with a B dollars to build this resort destination and make this our flagship. Each asset, right, or each site will have essentially similar amenities. We're allowed up to 4,000 positions, which will be heavily mixed towards slots, probably close to 3,300 or 3,400 slots, over 150 tables, probably closer to about 175. A hotel, which our first phase will have a 100 room all suite hotel. Then there'll be an additional add-on phase for another 100 approximate rooms, full spa and amenities, eating space, etc. We'll also have a 20,000 square foot exhibition hall, which will be split kind of twofold. A piece of that will be an iconic Chicago sports museum, recognizing the vast history of Chicago sports, and we're not going to discriminate. We're not Chicago's White Sox. We're not Chicago Cubs. We're both.
Okay.
So don't ask me to answer that question. We'll also have another half of that will be a curated museum, which will be on a rotational basis. There'll be plenty of F&B amenities. One unique aspect to the project will be a food hall, which will have somewhere between 4 and 6 spaces, 2 of which will be curated by local chefs, and we'll bring them in for a period of, call it, 6 months or a year. This will give them an opportunity to showcase their talents to thousands of customers for the period of time that they'll be there. In addition, there'll be at least a 3,000 to 3,500 or 4,000 seat entertainment venue for concerts, shows, etc. We'll have some smaller breakout rooms. Think of a comedy club or like nightclub and lounge. So those are some of the main amenities. There will be obviously vast F&B offerings. Steakhouse, we'll probably have an Asian concept. A lot of rooftop space and green space outdoors. Depending on the site, so if you actually take a look at the Tribune site in the renderings, there will be a river walk. We'll be bringing in water taxis for customers to visit and there'll be a bridge across the river. And then at the truck marshaling site, there will actually be a bridge so folks who are walking along the lake can actually cross over Lakeshore Drive.
Nice. So as you said, one proposed location is in River West, the other location is in Bronzeville. How were these two locations chosen?
So when we came in to take a look at the prospects of coming to Chicago, we kind of cast a wide net.
Okay.
To build an operation of this size, you need somewhere upwards of 15 or 20 acres at a minimum. In Chicago, that's very hard to find all in one aggregate piece of land, or even parcels that you need to pull together. So with that being said, we cast a wide net. I think there was probably somewhere around 20 sites that we originally looked at, and these were narrowed down as our two best. We bifurcated our bids. One we control, which is the Tribune site. The other is controlled by MPEA, and we would need to negotiate some sort of long-term agreement with them. But we believe both sites are extremely viable, and there's massive economic upside for both.
What has Bally's done to engage both of the communities for the casino resort sites?
So in each community, we came in and listened, was our first step. As we were starting to do the prospecting to try and identify sites, we tried to meet with local community groups and leaders to understand what the prospects were to have that property in their ward. I think that's number one. Number two, we listened to what the city and the mayor have said. They want a heavy diversity, equity, and inclusion component to this project, which we can get to in a little bit. We have highly focused on that. We've also talked with a lot of very prominent community groups, such as the Chicago Urban League, or the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce. Just a few examples. We've also started to operate as though we were in Chicago already. Last week, was it last week? Time's flying. Last week was Thanksgiving. We operated 2 turkey drives, one in the Bronzeville neighborhood and one over in the Tribune neighborhood, where we gave away over 600 turkeys and partnered with Black Men United. They brought in semi-trucks and gave away household PPE and appliances and such. So those are the types of things that we normally do in the markets that we operate, and we view this as one that we want to be here, and we want to show this is what we would do.
How does Bally's feel it can add value to the communities of the proposed sites?
So I think if you read through the RFP and based on the discussions we've had, the biggest goal that the city has is to provide generational wealth to Chicagoans and particularly minorities. I think that's kind of front and center in our bid, in a lot of the way we've crafted our response and the goals we've set. I think the most prominent piece here that we've responded in our goal is we've put together a collective of 9 construction, the Chicago Community Builders Collective. 8 of those 9 firms are MBE or WBE, and those 8 firms will operate a majority of that joint venture. So this will be the first casino in the U.S. that is majority built by minorities.
Okay.
I think that's number one. Number two, we've set very high MBE, WBE participation goals for the construction and design. Almost 50%, or 46 to be exact, is our minimum goal. Vendor diversity, we're targeting 30% on an ongoing basis once we open. From a hiring standpoint, at a minimum, 45% of our employees will be women, 45% will be minority. Then we've also have 5% as veteran and 5% as disabled. So we're trying to be inclusive of as many representative groups as possible. In addition to that, 25% of the operation or the project itself will be owned by minorities and women, and many of those owners are represented in our construction group. There's some of the groups that we're working with right now as consultants or advisors. So there's a handful of investors there, and then quite a few are small business owners or local entrepreneurs. There's a few local and national sports stars, which at this stage we're not prepared to disclose because of non-disclosure agreements that we have. But in due time, we hope to be able to talk a little bit more about them.
Bally's owns 14 casinos across the country, including, as you said, the one that's in Rock Island here in Illinois. How would a Chicago casino resort fit with all the other casinos that Bally's owns and manages?
Yeah, so currently we own 14. We're actually acquiring the Tropicana in Las Vegas, which will be our 15th,
Okay.
and we're building a greenfield project in State College, which will be our 16th.
Okay.
So depending on where you find your source, some will say 14, some will say 16.
Okay.
With that being said, we want this to be our flagship. Like I mentioned before, we're building from scratch. It's going to be highly representative of the local population, which is our goal, and we think that aligns with the city's goal. Ultimately, we're not conflicted. We're not in Chicagoland market right now. Our nearest property is 180 or so miles away. So I think that gives us, a lot of flexibility to be able to market and pull in from not just the direct Chicagoland market, but competition in Indiana, south suburbs, Rockford, et cetera.
What are the next steps in the process?
From our perspective, we have a public presentation to the city and city leadership in the evaluation committee on December 16th. That's a public presentation in person at the University of Illinois Chicago in the forum. After that, our anticipation is the city will announce a formal preference or recommendation to the Illinois Gaming Board, and then the process really kind of speeds up from there, where you begin the licensing process. We'll need to negotiate a host community agreement with the city of Chicago, start some of the permitting, entitlement, and zoning approvals for ultimately a development plan.
How confident is the Bally's Corporation that it will get the casino license?
I can say wholeheartedly that we're extremely confident in the bid we've put on the table, that it aligns with the interests of the city and the community. With that being said, we're excited to talk a little bit more with the city and the evaluation committee, and look forward to that in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, great. Before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to add?
Chicago's been good to me. I can't wait to be here for a long period of time.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.